Hello everybody, and welcome to today's baking odyssey, which is cinnamon buns. So I made a different recipe a few days ago and I wasn't 100% thrilled with it. But I'm happy I did it because I knew I learned the technique. I am going to do a different recipe today. This one is a little bit easier. So right now, I also have a fancy new iPad stand which I can now swivel so you can see what's happening in my bowl. So in a large mixing bowl, I have 2 eggs. To that, I'm gonna add 1/3 cup of sugar, okay? And I'll just bring it back up here for a second. I've pre-prepared 2 things of liquid. So in 1 measuring cup, I have a cup of milk. I used whole milk. You could use whatever else you want, and 1/4 cup of butter. So I melted that together. I just put it in the microwave. You could always heat it in a pot just till scalding, which means just until it all melts together and it's like sort of a slight simmer. And then in here we have our good old friend yeast, which is a 1/4 cup of warm water. So again, my water is at about 106 degrees Fahrenheit. And to that I added a teaspoon of sugar and 1, I'm gonna say package, but Jamie Oliver called it a sachet of yeast, and I like the way it sounds. So 1/4 cup of water, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and a sachet of yeast, and that's now been standing for almost 5 minutes, and as you can see, it is nice and foamy. So I am gonna add all my wet ingredients together in this bowl, and you'll forgive me for my constant camera movement, but I do want you guys to see what's going on. So to combine it, you can see, nope, a little bit more. All right, so here are my eggs, my sugar. I've got my milk butter concoction, and I'll just start to mix that all together. For now, I'm using a whisk just to combine that. And there's all my delightful yeast. So I'm just gonna whisk that to combine. Now, again, once I start to add my flour, I will be using these, my favorite kitchen tools in the world. You could use a stand mixer with a dough attachment. I didn't want to do that because I thought it would be really noisy. And I'd prefer to use my hands, to be honest. So here, I've got 3 cups of all-purpose flour in here. I'm not using any salt because all I have is salted butter, so I didn't want to add any additional salt. If you're using unsalted butter, then I would say to add maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon or so of salt. So, rules of flour, as per our previous lesson with challah making, let's go slow. So I'm gonna add a little bit, and using my hands, I'm gonna start mixing, and now I can, oh, hold on. Hold on, it's falling. We don't want it to fall. Sorry, this is a new toy. You'll bear with me. I think you can see. No? All right, there we go. There's our angle. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. So as you can see, I am scraping the sides as I go. And if you were using a stand mixer, I would say to use your dough hook and start on like a lower to low medium speed until everything comes together. And I do also have extra flour on the side just in case. So right now I've put in all 3 cups of my flour, and it is starting to come together. And not that you guys saw this yesterday, but so as you see, this recipe, there's not that much butter. So I'm gonna add more flour now as I need because it is way too sticky. So yesterday's recipe was it was a brioche dough. So hold on, you don't need to see this right now. You can focus on me. Hold on. Oh, shoot. I think that's gonna happen quite a bit. Anyways, hi. So yesterday's dough, I did a brioche dough. Now, what's a brioche dough? So like this, there's milk, there's eggs, there's sugar, obviously there's flour. The difference is that rather than melting the butter into the milk, we make the dough, so eggs, sugar, yeast, milk, that all got mixed. Then once the dough came together, that's when you added in soft butter. And you added it in chunks at a time. So I liked it, it was okay. I'm gonna save that for another tutorial because I would love to make a babka, and babka is brioche dough. So that will be another video series, but for today, this is a cinnamon bun, and that's more like a Danish. So I'm doing, I guess we would call it like a easy yeast dough, a Danish dough. So my hands are nice and sticky right now. So I'm using my scraper to scrape my hands clean so that we can get to kneading, our favorite. And I'm going to flour my work table, station, whatever. And like all doughs, we're gonna be looking for something that is smooth, something that's elastic. I might need more flour. I didn't take out enough flour. Look at that. Okay, I will move the camera down once it starts coming together, and it's actually so sticky that I'm using my pastry scraper right now. But it feels really nice, and I like the feel of this better. Hold on, let's take a little shift. I can move this back. No, we'll move this that way. If you can see, I think there's too much light. And as you can see, it's still pretty sticky. Whew. I'm gonna continue kneading this, and then I will be back because we're already 7 minutes in. See you in a sec. Hello, I have finished kneading. I was kneading for about 5 or more minutes, and my initial estimation of 3 cups of flour was not enough. So scratch that. Let's say start with at least 3.5 cups of flour and keep like another cup on the side to add as you need. So I will tilt this down slightly so you can see how my final dough looks. So here it is, and it's, you know, nice and smooth. And I'm just gonna form that into a ball, and remember, like, looking for elastic, nice and elastic. So right now, this is just a greased bowl. So I'm gonna put that into the bottom of a greased bowl, and I'm covering it with a dampened tea towel. And like all yeast doughs, this has to rise until it's doubled in size. So this is gonna take anywhere from 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And again, just being cognizant of your room temperature. So my room right now is about 24 degrees Celsius. If your room is colder, it might take a little bit longer time. If your room is warmer, that's probably too warm, so cool it down a little bit. But I'm gonna leave it now to rise, like I said, until it's double in size. So I'll check back in about 1.5 hours, see how it's doing. And the next steps after this will be rolling the dough out, smearing it with some delicious cinnamon butter, and rolling it up, then cutting it into the cinnamon bun shape that we all love so much. So check you guys soon for part 2.